ghetto girl. Loudmouth ghetto girl. Loudmouth ghetto girl. Loudmouth ghetto girl.
We might just get hit with the Rico. That's how they get on my people. They take somebody like Huey and they make them seem like Nino.
Hey, it's your girl Amber Hassan, welcoming you to another episode of the Loudmouth Ghetto Girl podcast. This episode, I will be interviewing my homies Seth Bernard and John Orpheus. We talk about art and activism, and I sprinkle a little black girl magic in there. So what I need you to do, I need you to share, I need you to give me your feedback, and I need you to just show love in general. So, again, it's your girl Amber Hassan. I hope you enjoy. Welcome to another episode of the Loudmouth Ghetto Girl podcast. I am Amber Hassan, the amazing Loudmouth Ghetto Girl. You may hear my children in the background. Do not be alarmed. They are always there. So today I am meeting with two wonderful, and I want to say musicians, but you two are so much more than that. So I'm going to let you go ahead and tell, all these wonderful people who are watching, who you are, what you do, and...
Hello, I'm John Orpheus. It's nice to be here in, can we say where we are?
You can say where we at. Yeah.
We're in Flint, Michigan. Nice
whoop,
to be
whoop.
here. Proud of the people. Yeah, it's beautiful to be here, Amber. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming.
Always great to roll with my man Seth Bernard. John Orpheus, we do Pan-African hip-hop. We're about intersectional feminism, Pan-Africanism, soca, dancehall, Afrobeats, Guam, Kwaito, hip-hop, soul music. Wherever the African diaspora is, that's where we live.
Very cool. Seth.
I'm Seth Bernard. I'm from Lake City, Michigan. Grew up on Oak Ridge
Lake
Farm.
City.
What up? And so great to be with you, Amber, and your awesome kids, and John.
Feel free to take the children with you.
One of these times, they're gonna come up to the farm.
Definitely.
I'm a musician as well. Multi-instrumentalist, singer-songwriter. Kind of started out playing like in rock and roll bands and then doing like the solo folk singer thing, and I've kind of expanded from there into lots of genres, but really it's all about making the world a better place, social change, using the lifespan that I have to try to move things into a better, more fair, safe, vibrant paradigm where music can be a vehicle for that. And also I do a lot of work around creating events like the Earthwork Harvest Gathering, the Water Festival, and building with people all over the state and all over the world, really, to use the arts to uplift people and deal with creating justice where there's injustice.
Very, very, very cool. So I had a question and then it left me, which will happen. Let me just say, I will be sitting here talking and y'all will be like, what is she thinking about? It'll probably be food. But John, you mentioned intersectional feminism. Can you kind of expound on that a little bit? Because I know that feminism and feminists and the movement has in ways been hijacked, and so with intersectional feminism, can you kind of explain that?
Yeah, for sure. It's a very personal thing for me. Like we create events within Toronto where I'm from. That's where I work. And
T-Dot?
Yeah, T-Dot, what up? So we have like Speak Your Truth, which is a open mic kind of night. Then we have House Orpheus Presents, which will do live concerts, and we have something called Afro House, which my partner in crime, Sarah Rigler, who's from Michigan as well, Rapid City, what up? And she is a DJ, and so she DJs in these Afro House events, and in creating these spaces, what we were trying to do is create a community along the principles that we believe in. And for me, it's very personal. I grew up in the Caribbean. I was raised by my grandmother and my aunt and my stepmom and my other aunt, and like there was a lack of sort of men around in the family structure. Very colonial environment, very like the residue of colonialism is still there. When I was born, everybody I knew when I opened my eyes was born as basically the property of the queen.
Right.
They couldn't vote. They had no parliament. They had nothing like that. So all of those women, and so it's a tough place to raise a family, and it's a tough environment to keep the integrity of family structure. So I grew up feeling the world and seeing the world through their eyes, and now that we're in a position to create spaces where people, and these are Black women, and very aware that as the cause of women gets promoted throughout the world, as it should, there's a shift happening, but as always, Black women tend to get left behind, and so we saw that need, and we were like, hey, let's do our thing, do what we're doing, but let's create a space where Black women are going to feel like, hey, this is for me. I belong here. I have a seat. Not only a seat at the table, but we give preference to those types of artists, to our hosts of the show, even the themes we do with our shows, because we just want to create a space where those that are the least feel like they can be the greatest. And it's open to everyone, but we want to create a space where there's safety there and you don't feel marginalized, which to some degree we feel, I grew up just watching these women that were raising me feeling that. And so, we're trying to just move the needle for the next generation and our generation to do a little bit better, and these are complex issues that are hard to change, but, if we can do something that lifts them up, then we can move the needle even if slightly. So that's kind of where we're going with it.
Very cool. And the reason I asked, I'm a part of a organization we're called the Sister Tour, and basically what we strive to do is offer spaces for women artists, specifically women of color, because it's ran by women of color. And I think that when doing anything, you have to start with the group you belong to. You have to start with self, and then you can branch out. But it's not limited to women of color at all. But I do agree with what you're saying about not always feeling like you have a seat at the table. And just as an artist personally, and as a Black woman, a lot of people, the new thing is saying that Black people, we know how to code switch. Basically, when we're in certain environments, we have to change our attitude. We have to change the way we dress. We have to change the way we wear our hair. We have to change, all of these things to seem like we fit in, or to even not, to where people aren't afraid. Yeah. Because I've learned just growing as a Black woman that we are often seen as intimidating, and I'm like, me? Like, really? Yeah. And that's kind of where the Loudmouth Ghetto Girl came from, is that I was tired of code switching. I was tired of putting on a certain voice and, having to seem safe. Yeah. And it was just like, I'm going to be me in every environment, and the environment can adapt, or the people at the table can adapt. And what I found is that people, no matter what walks of life they're from, when you come to them authentically, they come to you authentically. And if not, it's out of their own fear, and that has nothing to do with you. You know what I'm saying? Like, you be you and let the chips fall where they may. And at the end of the day, you can at least walk away with the fact that I'm still me. I still have ownership of who I am and what I do. So that's to me, that's big, especially when men and when Black men take a role in that process. And from what it sounds like, from what you're telling me, your role in that process is not like, okay, I'm gonna create this for y'all, and then I'm coming to save y'all. And it's kind of like, here, I'm gonna help use my privilege, because we all have some sort of privilege. It's like, I'm gonna use the privilege I have as a man to kind of help open some doors, and you do what you need to do with this space, and you tell me what it takes to make this comfortable. Yeah.
So that is definitely appreciated, and that is needed. You know, a lot of people don't think that it's needed, and it is. It's very much needed.
It's never healthy to spend your life, and it's always about worrying about their comfort.
Mm-hmm.
You need to make people feel comfortable, safe, and all these things before you can even begin to worry about yourself.
Right.
And that's not what they're doing. And it's the opposite. And so that's kind of the foundation. It's like, let's start with your comfort
Mm-hmm.
and work back from there.
Yep. I definitely agree. Me and Seth, we met, interestingly enough. Like, I meet everybody I meet, it's always like, just, you know, it's always unexpected, and there was no, hey, let me introduce you to Seth. I was actually invited to perform at an event. People's Climate Movement held an event called Rise, and it was dealing with just climate change. It was dealing with fair wages and water, all things that are important to me. So I was really excited when I was invited to perform, and we were there, and we were just kind of kicking it, and Seth just came over and was like, hey, like, so what do y'all do? You know, and it just was like instant. Like, we were, you know, like, it was like he had always known us. And I, you know, many times when people see me, I don't have my niqab on, but my face is covered, you know. And so for someone who is, if you were just to see us, you would think we were polar opposites or something like that, to just walk up and feel comfortable enough to be like, hey, what's up with you? You know, what you got going on? Mm-hmm. Hey, matter of fact, we got an event coming up. You want to come? Yeah, you can stay at our crib. You know, just to have someone be that genuine, and I guess feel your authenticity as well, and just be like, hey, you know, we from the same tribe. Let's get together and let's work. That was super important to me in our meeting, and that I always go off of energy and off of vibes and what I get from people, and we definitely got nothing but love from you, Seth.
Thank you.
Can you talk a little bit more, because a lot of the work I've been doing lately, as far as I guess activism, if that's what you want to call it, I think that life is activism. You know what I'm saying? If you really are living in truth, when you see some bull crap going on, you're supposed to do something about it. But because of living in Flint and because of my experiences in Puerto Rico, a lot of my work has been around water and you know, about socioeconomics and how it affects people during disaster relief. And, you know, these economic systems that are boosted basically off of the trauma of certain communities, like in Flint and like in Puerto Rico, and how governments have come in and made millions of dollars off of both situations, and the people are still struggling. So can you talk about some of the work that you do in regards to climate change and the environment and water specifically?
Mm-hmm. Thanks. Yeah. It's very big stuff, and it's also so close to home, you know, for all of us. For me, it's been an objective of mine entering into the conversation around the water movement in Michigan. Like, you know, I come from up north. I come from a white majority community. You know, recognizing my privilege as a white man, being born into it, not having earned it.
Right.
And then also recognizing the reality that communities of color and Native communities are always on the front lines of environmental devastation. On top of structural racism, there's environmental racism. And so a lot of people in white majority communities are concerned about climate change, concerned about the health of the Great Lakes, concerned about dangerous pipeline that could explode at any minute that's operating, pumping 23 million gallons of heavy crude oil under the Straits of Mackinac every day, and this is scary. But meanwhile, I mean, this is a threat. Meanwhile, people in Flint still don't have clean water.
Right.
They've been poisoned by the people that are supposed to be representing us, you know. And people in Detroit have their water shut off The wages go down, the rates go up, and these are crimes against humanity that are happening in the same state. So a lot of what I've been trying to do with the Clean Water campaign has been to use music and storytelling, videos, events to bring these narratives together, and really to center Native leadership and communities of color, and the voices that are really on the front lines of the water crisis that connects us all. And when I met you, hearing you use your voice so powerfully as an artist and activist was so powerful. And then to understand that you left Flint to go to Puerto Rico and then experience what you did there, just like that story. And when someone tells their story, it's totally different than if someone gives a lecture and presents science, which we need that too. And the science of climate change has been there for 30 years, 50 years. And a dear friend of mine, I just visited him in Vermont, Bill McKibben. He wrote the first book about climate change in 1989.
Wow.
It was called The End of Nature, and he had all the science and he put it out there. And at that time he expected that people would take swift motion, and it's been 30 years of being attacked by the fossil fuel industry, and he's got nothing to benefit.
I'm sure.
And so climate change is a huge reality that everyone on Earth is facing, and we have like a dozen years to take action as a people, But some of these like apocalyptic realities have already been the reality for people of color on this continent for centuries, And so the narrative needs to be there, and I think white folks like myself need to understand that it's up to us to do the heavy lifting of dismantling structural racism, and to recognize environmental racism. If you consider yourself an environmentalist, recognize that this is a justice movement, and that we're all stronger together, and we're all working, for the same things, a world where we can all thrive and where nature is vibrant. And, you look at the cultural histories and mythologies of people of color and Native people, there's always been this recognition of Mother Earth and honoring of Mother Earth, and of like the earth as this living system, and the water as living waters. So, I have a lot to learn still, but I think it's important for me to to just show up, and listen, and also to recognize the privilege that I have walked into in this life, and to use it to try to create that shift. And I also, recognize climate, jobs, and justice. We need all of those. We need to work on all three of these things concurrently. And, you have like Van Jones, who was going to be Obama's green jobs czar, and he was talking about this 10 years ago. And, he got attacked vehemently. Now we've got Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and lots of other women, powerful women of color, who are sort of creating this Green New Deal. And, FDR's New Deal totally left people of color out.
Yeah. Yep.
So we need a real Green New Deal now that's going to create jobs and like a thriving, right livelihood. For all people, and in the process build an economy of restoration. And we've needed to come together for a long time, so now we have to.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. And I think it's very important that the way you just described how you move as an advocate, as an ally. Because I think that sometimes people think that as an ally, it's good enough to just say, hey, I've got your back, go do the hard work. I got your back. And to actually be creating spaces, creating events, and actually going forward and pushing it yourself and saying to other people with your same privilege, because I think that's what happens. It's like, as a white male, you can come into a space with people of color and women, and you can say, hey, I got your back, I'm your ally, you can march with us, you can do all of those things. But if you don't go back to other white males and females with the same socioeconomic background that you have or the same privileges that you have and say, hey, this is what's going on over there. That sucks. Like, what can we do to help stop that? Because you say that you care about the environment or whatever. So if you really care about the environment, look what's happening here, look what's happening there, look what's happening there, and kind of lighting the fire under the people to not just talk about it, but to be about it. Like, so I think that that's really important. And that's what being a true ally is. It's not about, whatever the hashtag is of the moment or whatever. It's not about those things. It's about actually being there and putting in that work and saying, hey, I don't just have your back when I'm with you. I also have your back when I'm not with you. When I'm with other people who don't have your back, I still have your back. And I think that that's super important.
What's happening behind the curtain? I don't know what's going on, but I'm listening.
Everything is water and earth, fire and breath. Gotta dig up in the depths. Every corner needs to be swept, every mantle dusted. I've often trusted anything but my intuition. Our instinct is to love without wondering what's happening behind the curtain. We want to be certain but don't have enough faith to just let go. It is said that a little goes a long way and it's okay to take the long way home. Enjoy the scenery, because it will never be the same as it is now. One day we will be the beaten path and the dirt will be the only proof of our existence. So existing now is all that we can really do.
What's happening behind the curtain? I don't know what's going on, but I'm listening.
My heart beats to old-time mountain music. The fury of the fiddles will force all edges to the middle. Make us realize that we all have to go home with our demons. Can't leave them for anyone else to face. They hold the key to our recovery. Gotta understand you're ugly first. Gotta accept yourself at your worst. Let the banjos give birth to your butterflies. Baptized in Appalachian air, infused with blues, riddled with clues about our salvation. As if the Creator strummed us into existence. String theory, musical melting pot. Bootlegged, brewed in the backwoods, Americana raw, unfiltered. Songs of struggle and survival, a rogue revival, a stew of soul, guitar gumbo full of grit and grace, laced with mistakes and redemption. The music created to fill the holes left in empty stomachs, pockets, and hearts, trying to pass the time until the sweet chariot swings low enough to carry them home.
What's happening behind the curtain? I don't know what's going on, but I'm listening.
My name is Declore and I wrote all of that. I am good.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Such an honor.
Thank you.
Loudmouth ghetto girl. Loudmouth ghetto. Loudmouth ghetto girl. Loudmouth ghetto girl.
We might might just get hit with the Rico. That's how they get on my people. They take somebody like Huey and they make him seem like he Nino.